Thank you, everybody. So I'm basically honored and very happy, right? Delighted to welcome 5 of our students from last summer. All 5 that you're going to meet are they were volunteers and or interns in previous years. Then they were organizers for the program for an entire year, like Hannah, who actually became an organizer, stuck on as an organizer for the second year. So um, we are delighted to have them. I think the purpose of having them on was to connect, I think, caring and career planning, right? So obviously, like many of you, um, Lily and Allison and Charlie and Diana and Hannah all had passions about environment, food justice, right? About inequity and just a sense of like, hey, things aren't the way they need to be and how can we make them better? They also joined the program and they are all seniors now on the cusp of starting out college. So I wanted to bring them on so that we could have a conversation about how they turn their passion uh, or at least how do they connect their passion to their career planning? Did it actually play a role, or did they just do what their parents told them or what they felt was like the best thing to do, right? What compromises did they make? What programs did they find? What additional, like what really helped them versus what was like totally waste of time, right? So really getting that conversation going is the purpose of today's meeting. Um, Obviously, if you want to get the most out of it, you should ask questions, right? So you can feel free to put things in chat. I'll ask all our speakers to keep chat going on the side as I will. And when they find the right time to address it, they can address it. So without further ado, let me turn it over to them. I'm going to ask each of them to introduce themselves, tell you where they went to school and where they're hoping to go to school next year. So Allison, why don't you kick us off?
Okay, so I'm Allison Mandel. I joined Rewild in summer of 2020. I started off as a volunteer, was later promoted to an intern and youth mentor. And this coming fall, I'm planning on majoring in sustainable agriculture at Ohio State University. Rewild has definitely played a part in my success with this major in college, and I have a lot to thank it for. It's definitely heightened my interest in food security and sustainability in general.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Allison. Diana?
Hi, everyone. I'm Diana. I was also a Rewild intern summer of 2020, and then I did a mentorship the year right after. I went to high school at Schreiber in Port Washington, and I'm an incoming freshman at the University of Pennsylvania, where I'll be majoring in biology and business.
Ooh. Okay. Charlie?
Hi, I'm Charlie. I was also an intern summer of 2020 before I became an organizer in 2021. I went to Manhasset High School and graduated last month. And in the fall, I will be headed to Kenyon College in Ohio, where I'm not entirely sure what I want to do yet, but I'll probably be majoring in English and political science.
Very cool. Lily?
Hi, I'm Lily. I'm actually from the South Shore of Long Island in Merrick. I went to school at Kennedy High School. In 2020, like Allison, I started as a volunteer and then got promoted to intern and then worked as a youth mentor. Because I was so far away, I would spend like basically a whole day once per week instead of making 2 treks. Up north, it was about half an hour away. And I really enjoyed it. I'm going to Cornell University studying biological sciences with a hopeful concentration in ecology and evolutionary biology. And if possible, since you can't really add concentrations or double majors right away if like at this point. I want to add an entomology major as well. The program has definitely influenced my interests because learning about how, like, here's an example. When you see all the milkweed plants, there's an entire ecosystem just within one plant of all different organisms that are specifically adapted for that plant, and some that aren't, that just happen to be generalists and be there. And it's very, very interesting seeing the different adaptations those organisms have, and I'm looking forward to studying that in college.
Okay, and Hannah.
Hi, I'm Hannah Goykadosh. I just graduated from Central High School in Queens. I'm from Great Neck. I'm going to be taking a gap year, and then I hope to study environmental science at Macaulay Honors College at Queens College. And with a major either in pre-engineering, the pre-engineering track, or computer science as my minor. And Rewild really helped me find out what I wanted to do. That's where I found my passion for environmental science, really. And I think I wrote like half my college essays about my experience with Rewild. I was an intern in 2020, and then I was a mentor last year in 2021, and then this year again.
Right, and what is amazing to me, I mean, so first of all, a note about both Allison and Lily. We initially said, oh, you know what, why don't you come in as volunteers? And because especially with Lily, it was like she's coming all the way from, and we were like, oh my God, will she be able to do it? It was just, they were not promoted, they were promoted themselves. They were like awesome. Allison was pretty much literally there every day of the week at the Plantero garden at the SMLI. She was growing so many vegetables and doing so many things. I mean, it's just like passion that drove them to participate. And I think the summer program can only take a portion of the credit because, you know, as always, you all came with so much passion burning in you already. So let me turn and say, look, what are some of the big challenges facing the world that you have cared a lot about? How did you develop your interest or awareness? You know, how did you kind of like go from, oh, this looks like it's awful, to this looks overwhelming, to, oh yeah, maybe I could do something about it, right? So maybe, you know, jump, I mean, maybe we'll go in the same like alphabetical order, or if just so that, so Allison, maybe you want to go first, and then Charlie and Diana.
Oh, well, I feel like my dedication to Rewild has definitely helped me find my passion in sustainable agriculture. I've done a lot more research and on food insecurity, and my knowledge has definitely expanded on that. I think the problem is that a lot of people just do not care, and the reason why they don't care is because they're not knowledgeable about this. They're not knowledgeable about why people are food insecure. It's because there's not enough growing these days, and this doesn't just lead to food insecurity. This leads to higher carbon dioxide emissions. This leads to global warming as a whole. Most people have heard of this, and yet people just don't seem to care because they don't know how to combat this. So I think when more people realize about how they can combat these problems of food insecurity and rising carbon dioxide emissions, then maybe more people will start caring about this and actually having more passion towards fixing this problem.
You know, thanks, Allison. And Charlie, you're going to study English and political science, you think, in that direction. Do you see that connected to your caring and things, the issues you care about?
Yes, totally. So I have kind of known that I've wanted to be a writer of some sort for a pretty long time. I think probably since I started to think seriously about what I wanted to do with my life. And while I don't necessarily know what kind of writer I want to be, I could definitely see myself leaning towards journalism or something to call sort of attention to these issues. And I think I've always had a little bit of awareness just from, like, you know, my parents always watching the news forcing me to listen to NPR in every car ride, that I've always kind of like had a vague awareness of, okay, there are bad, awful things going on in the world. But I think it was when I was in around middle school, I started to actually start paying attention to the news, to politics myself. And, you know, I think that once you sort of hit that threshold of revelation, where you realize, oh, wow, there are a lot of horrible things going on in the world. It's really overwhelming. And you kind of just want to sit on the floor and curl up in a ball and cry because everything's messed up and there's nothing that you personally can do like to stop all of it. And it's all so hopeless. And I definitely felt like that for a while. And then I think I sort of realized, okay, I can't fix everything, but I can do something, and that's better than doing nothing. And that's part of the reason why I joined Rewild, which I think really helped increase, you know, my awareness of the world around me. And even if I'm not, you know, saving the entire planet all by myself, it was doing something to make the world a little bit better.
And so you see that way. So the route does not necessarily have to be through biology or botany. I mean, it's obvious, but I just want to hold that up a little bit. I mean, I really love the way that you want to connect other things into it.
I think it's using my own personal skill set to achieve a goal, because I'm not a math and science person. I'm definitely way more of a humanities person. So I think I can be a writer and also still find a way to work sustainability and environmentalism into my career.
Yeah, no, and I just want to make that point. I mean, I'm sure it's apparent, but just at least for some people who haven't thought about it, right? You could be a lawyer and help environment, like further the environment. You could be a data scientist and further the environment. You could be a computer scientist and further the environment. You could be an accountant and further the environment. So anything, you could be like a social media star and you know, influencer and help the environment. So really, there's a lot of different ways of doing it, and I think just what we are just scratching the surface here, so to speak, but some very important threads. So thank you, Charlie, and Diana. Do you want to tell us how your journey got you here? Because you have a very interesting story. I know very few people who started as early as you did, but please.
Yeah, sure. So one problem or big issue that I was always very interested in ever since I was even in elementary school. I know in my elementary school, our administration made it a big thing for the students to really internalize the problem of plastic waste. I'm not sure if that was specific to my school or not, but it was a very big thing in my school. So since then, I was kind of programmed to really seek issues that related to how we manage our plastic waste. Later on, while I was in Port Washington, I was able to lead a youth run org. What we did there was promote recycling in the local community, and with all the funds that we earned from recycling bottles that we picked up from people, from our supporters in the community, we were able to fund different educational accessibility programs to students who really needed it. And this way we would combat both the recycling issues and the educational accessibility issues, which were two things I was very passionate about growing up. So in the lens of the college process, I actually said that I'm majoring in biology and business, and you're probably thinking, like, how does this even relate to biology and business at all? And I think that a big point is that Raju said earlier that even though your major isn't specifically like environmental, specifically something related to social justice, you can use elements from your passions and sort of put them into the major that you're studying. So for example, I'm studying business, and I was able to say that something I wanted to do with my business ventures would be creating more sustainable sort of organizations in whatever sector I wanted to go into. And yeah, I just think you shouldn't restrict yourself, even if you're really focused on environmentalism. You can always apply it to different different sectors of knowledge. So that's just a big takeaway I got from this whole process.
Diana started this group called Project Ripples, and she's looking for volunteers as well to help with the plastic waste issue. So if you want a cool chance to meet with Diana, talk about Project Ripples and help out, please reach out at the end of this program. I'll again put that information in, or Diana, while we are talking, you can put that your contact information in chat. I will give you contact information for everybody here, but again, I just want to remind you of Project Ripples. So thanks, Diana. Hannah, I'm going alphabetical. So Hannah, do you want to talk a little bit about your sustainability major? And yours is like straight in the center of your passion. So tell us how you came about your passion, how you learned that you could do something about it, and if sustainability was an obvious option, and what else did you think about?
Yeah, so basically, I've always been a bit of an environmental science nerd. Back in like middle school, I did my science, like middle school science fair on like different like local waterways, like which ones were the most like pure. I don't know. It was middle school science. It wasn't very complicated. But that really sparked an interest, and ever since then I've always like I've been into Scientific American, and I've been reading about it, and I just love it. And I also care about people, so I loved finding ways to like mix my like intellectual interest with like actually doing something and helping people, which was through Rewild and other programs I did throughout high school, where I loved Rewild so much. And then I just liked finding ways to mix my passions for like engineering and my passions for the environment. I hope to go into environmental engineering after college, through a master's program, hopefully. And there's just so many jobs in the environmental field that like you don't even realize that there's environmental lawyers, there's environmental engineers, environmental technology. There's just so many different spheres that like still interest me, and you're able to combine your different passions in so many different ways. And one thing I thought about while choosing a college is that while I do love the environment and environmental science so much, I didn't want to box myself into one specific path. So in choosing a college, I really made sure I picked a college that I could go many different ways. There's a wide variety of majors. And that's always something I recommend to people, is that well, I do think I'm going to be sticking with environmental science through it all. I made sure that I wasn't like locking myself into one career path. And well, yeah, I think that's it. I think I touched all the questions there.
Right. And so you were always pretty confident that you could make an impact. So in your case, there wasn't like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm not sure if I can help. Or was there?
I would say at the beginning, it's like pretty overwhelming at first, which is like every time I hear something new, I'm overwhelmed again. We're just like, oh my God, I can't believe there's so many problems. They don't end. But what I found helpful is just helping on like a smaller level, just volunteering in your community, working with Rewild really helps me just compartmentalize that worry into something much smaller and something that I can actually make a difference to. I'm not responsible for the whole world, but I can try to help out in my community.
Cool.
I'm always interested in community-based like solutions before going into the big world. So that always helped me out.
Awesome. And Lily, thanks Hannah. And Lily, what about you? Like, what were you always passionate about? Entomology, biology, ecology, or have you been, have you had to think a lot before picking this?
Thank you. I've always had passions relating to like ecology in general. I didn't know the word for it when I was younger. I just like thought it was nature. But what I was really interested in was ecology. I love seeing how all different things were interconnected. I have like a ton of books on why certain animals do this and why this, and the story of whatever symbiotic relationship between animals or plants and animals or fungi and plants or whatever it was that I was interested in. I would, sorry, my hair keeps getting in my face. I would, really enjoyed learning about that. And as time went on, I would notice that there was a lot of like limits in like natural spaces near me. There are definitely like natural spaces near where I am. There's the Levy Preserve, there's Cayman's Pond, there's Mill Pond, but there weren't a lot of, it was mostly very developed. It wasn't like, if I walked any less than a mile, I would find somewhere that was like, or really 2 miles, I would find somewhere that was really a large amount of forested, not completely coated in invasives. There wasn't really an area like that that I knew about. So when I found out about rewild and really like rewilding in general, bringing these spaces back to nature, it really helped me, I guess, learn to make a difference, even if it's on a small scale. And a big part of why the Rewild summer program has influenced my decisions for my major in college was because I remember the first day that I got to a SMLI for like an orientation or something. It was in 2020. There was this very large wasp, and wasps are mostly harmless. Important. A lot of them are pollinators, and this one was a cicada killer. So they look scary, but they're harmless to people. They're just scary looking. And I thought it was the coolest thing. I took a ton of pictures of it. I was like, oh my God, look at this. I uploaded it to iNaturalist. I was like, what is this? I was very excited. And throughout my times at the summer program in 2020, 2021, and even just visiting SMLI in 2022 and taking a ton of pictures of the bugs and plants and the toad that's been there, it's been like a really great experience that has definitely made me a lot more confident in my interests in biology and entomology.
Cool. And I think Lily loves entomology because her birds eat all the insects. I want to say that Lily is also a big bird person. We did a YouTube video. I think actually multiple of them had given talks as part of the program. But I think we have Lily's talk on YouTube. So I'll just put the link. I know Lily's going to wince because she'll be like, oh, I can do so much better now, but it's okay. It still was pretty good, which is basics of bird identification on Long Island. So if you're interested in birds, if you're like curious about common birds you'll see in the backyard or wondering what bird you saw at SMLI, this year we have also the Unitarian Universalist congregation at Shelter Rock. So if you have been in that space, so the students this year are very lucky because they have a coyote cam. Coyotes are making a comeback, so they are actually seeing the work that's going on there with coyote identification and tracking and other things. So yeah, please, these spaces are so important and they're so inspiring. So if you're in those spaces and you want to check out Lily's video to figure out the birds, please do. So let me ask something very specific. So let me first pause here for a minute. Anybody who wants to ask a question about anything you heard, please feel free. These are all very friendly people, and or you can post it in chat if you're if you had a question but were shy about asking it. Okay. So the question I wanted to ask, and I'll go in reverse order, and Lily, ask you first, is, what colleges were you interested in? So the obvious thing is like, okay, so you had this interest, you knew what you were going to do, and then you started opening up the college catalogs and looking up the rankings and all that stuff. It's very overwhelming. It's kind of crazy to know between like, where your parents want you to go and what you can, who has what aid and what it costs and what distance and what you want to do and all the rankings and everything. It can be a bit overwhelming. So I just wanted to ask you, just as a tip, apart from the program you went to, can you give us a couple more that you would have been interested in, or you thought that people should know about, or you were surprised at uncovering through your process? If there were a couple that you would recommend to a friend, what would they be, in addition to the one you're going to, in addition to the one you're going to?
Thank you. I remember my second choice was actually Rochester Institute of Technology, because they had a lot of courses regarding birds. Not a ton of entomology courses, unfortunately for me, but they did have opportunities. Also, Ohio State, where Allison is going, is really good for agriculture, sustainability. A lot of people from my school were going there, and I kind of wanted to like change of pace, which is part of the reason I didn't apply. But it's a really good school for sustainability, agriculture, plenty of entomology classes. Those are probably the two I would recommend to people in this program. If you're more into like the research, like data sciencey side of things, there's other Ivies and amazing schools just here. My older brother's in computer science at Adelphi, and right now he's doing like these trying to think of the word, these like information science for biology, not in college, but he like has like all these opportunities he's able to practice. He has a job that introduced him to these different like data science, computer science, biology intertwined opportunities. So that's what I would, and luckily for me, and I did not have to think too much about college. And I don't want to say this as a brag, I'm just saying this is like a limitation to my advice that I would give out, because I did early decisions, so I knew fairly early on, but that doesn't mean like that other colleges like aren't as good, or that like, I don't know. I just don't have as much knowledge, I guess, about other colleges because I didn't look into that many at first.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, no, and yours is a good combination of not being too far away while at the same time being, a really good school as well. So good. No, thanks for sharing that. Hannah, what you're going, like you're going to stay local. I love that. We'll see Hannah all the time on the LIE. So tell us, Macaulay College, was that like your first choice? What else did you think about?
So, funnily enough, Macaulay Honors College was my first choice school. And Macaulay, just to explain what the program is a full tuition scholarship to a CUNY university. You're basically enrolled in Macaulay Honors College as well as the CUNY University. Mine will be Queens College. The CUNYs are a really amazing city university of New York. I recommend everyone checks out all the CUNYs there. In terms of colleges, sorry, my low battery notification came up. I'm still good, but I may have pulled out for a second. I really recommend looking into the CUNYs, especially as residents of New York. I did look into many other colleges, including Drexel University's environmental engineering program and Maryland's environmental technologies program. There's amazing colleges out there with amazing programs. There's one thing I suggest not doing, which I did, was every time I felt a little worried about the college process, I added another college onto the list, which was really unnecessary. Don't just stick to your list and stick to what you feel is right for you. Don't get so overwhelmed that you feel like you need to apply to another college, which is what I did. It didn't work out. I didn't need to apply to as many colleges I needed to apply to. I was very fortunate that I did get into my first choice school. And I do recommend looking into Macaulay and the CUNYs for any student.
And just from a positioning point of view, Hannah, did you really openly say, I'm coming in for the environmental studies program because I'm passionate about the environment? Were you all out there? Is that what helped you a lot? I mean, yeah.
I'm an environmental sciences major. That's where I said I was going. Yeah, that helped me a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I see the thread also about clarity in what you're interested in, because your passion shines through for everybody, right? Your passion shines through. So let your passion shine through rather than be like waffly about, oh, I could be doing economics, or I like your economics program and your history program, then they're not sure what you really are about, even if that is true. Whereas let your passion shine through and have focus. I think that helps a lot. Diana, what is your thought on things that either you think hidden gems you uncovered, or close seconds that you would recommend to a friend?
Yeah, so actually I had almost exactly the same experience as what Lily was saying before. So I pretty much, when I was doing my applications, I knew what I wanted from the college. Like, I was looking for a college that would really allow me to be able to study multiple disciplines at once. And I really think that Penn was like great with that. But I would say, as more of a warning, not to do something that I did. I really took my time focusing on one application to one college, and really set all my other applications kind of aside. And that's definitely not something you should do. You should always have some sort of backup plan, because sometimes when you're really looking into one college, you kind of think that or sort of make yourself think that this is the best place you could possibly be, and nowhere else is great for you, and you can't thrive anywhere else, which is definitely not true. Sometimes we ourselves have problems kind of seeing the bigger picture of like where we would truly belong. And from like so many different people who I've talked to who've gone through the college process, they've all said that the college they ended up was really the college for them. So I think the bottom line is that you should definitely have a bunch of different schools that you think you would do well at, and you shouldn't really attach yourself to one school. You should really sort of divide up the work for each school almost equally, or maybe put emphasis on some schools that you think you find more appealing to you, but generally just keep your options open and put about the same amount of work into all the schools that you apply to.
Cool. And were there other programs other than UPenn that you looked at, or was that like your early decision and that was it? And second, others were saying, or was there a program that you would recommend that you thought, oh, you know what, I'm torn between Penn and here?
So actually, I did not have that problem. I was pretty set on Penn, but I know that if somebody is interested in doing interdisciplinary work, I know that I could say that Johns Hopkins was like almost a close second for me.
Cool. Yeah, Penn and Johns Hopkins both are really good schools. And actually, I had somebody put a question on chat that they wanted asked. So again, so if you don't want to send it to everybody, just send me a question and I'm happy to ask it on your behalf anonymously. So anonymous question number one is, did you know, actually, I think this is a good thing for you, Diana, because you also did research before you went in. So tell us a little bit about the research, and then I'll continue with Charlie and Allison on the former question. So tell us about the research and the role that it played in your college process and how it helped.
Yeah, so research was also another aspect of my application that was pretty big. It was probably just as big as the environmentalist side of my application. So when my high school offered a research program, so that really opened the opportunity for me to sort of pursue research throughout high school. I started in 10th grade. In 10th grade, I did a project. Actually, it was an environmental science project. It was sort of focused on food insecurity and what we can do to minimize pesticides while also continuing to produce the amount of food that we need. Then actually, I kind of took a turn during my junior and senior year of high school, where I started doing research more in the realm of like molecular and cellular biology. So the last year I was at high school, I was able to do a year-long internship at the Cold Spring Harbor Labs, where I focused very specifically on cancer research as a research assistant. So my research experience really kind of zigzagged, and it wasn't really focused on one thing throughout my entire high school experience. But I think that was a big part of the learning process, and I was able to sort of explain that even in my college essays. So it wasn't only on my extracurricular part of my application, it kind of was spread out through my whole thing.
Cool, very cool. And yeah, no, that research experience, especially combined with your focus on what you wanted to do, definitely helped. Though it's not, I would not say that's a requirement, but it's definitely an asset if you know what you are going to do and are really deep into it, right? Charlie, again, continuing on, can you tell us about whether, what are the 2 colleges that you would recommend to a friend, or programs that you uncovered? What is your guidance on as you look through?
So I always knew from the get-go, once I started my college search process, sort of in the winter of my junior year, I wanted a small liberal arts school because I know I have a lot of passions, and I think the small liberal arts school kind of allows for a lot of interdisciplinary study in a way that other institutions might not. And I also know I needed that like sort of more intimate approach to education, more like time to get to know your and I also knew that I wanted a ability to sort of just be able to explore all those things. Sorry, my connection's kind of coming in and out. So I really liked Kenyon a lot, but I think if I didn't go to Kenyon, I also really liked Smith and Vassar. And my biggest advice would be keep an open mind, because I was really anti Kenyon at first when I first started looking into it, because I was like, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's in rural Ohio, in sort of the absolute middle of nowhere. And I, at the beginning of my search process, thought I wanted to be in the city. But I ended up falling in love with it. And so I think a big thing would be to just sort of keep an open mind. Don't get super set on like, I want to go here, I want to go to this place, on one type of school, one school in specific. I got rejected from my early decision school. And I think it's honestly for the better that I did, because I don't think I would have been happy there. And I also think that you can't really apply like one kind of piece of college advice to everyone. Everyone works differently. Everyone wants different things. I had a friend that only applied to like 6 schools. I have a friend that applied to like 25 schools. They're both going to their top choice school. I think it really just depends on who you are. My one big piece of advice though would be to start your applications as early as possible, because I started mine like August 1st, right when the Common App opened up, which meant that I had them all like done by like mid-November, which meant I got it all out of the way and done, like early action, early decision, regular decision. I started working on my essay over the summer. So I would say that's my one big thing I would tell everyone, to start it as early as possible, so you can just get it over with as early as possible.
Yeah. You juniors who are dawdling or whatever, let this be a wake-up call for you. So no, that's really good advice. Thanks, Charlie. Allison, what other schools other than Ohio State were you looking at, and what would you recommend, like to a friend who's applying with similar interests as you? What would you point them at?
Okay, so I'm definitely really glad that I got into OSU. I've visited it before. And it seems like the school that would definitely be the best for me. I think when I did get into OSU, it was between that. Well, at the time, it was either OSU or University of Florida, which was a stretch school, and I didn't get into University of Florida, so I just thought OSU it is. But kind of looking back at that, I think just because it's a stretch school, that doesn't necessarily mean it would be the better choice for you, because I'm actually kind of glad that I didn't get into University of Florida, because I've just fallen in love with OSU, and I can definitely see myself out of all the colleges I applied to. It seemed like it was the right decision for me. It seemed like the college that I'd fit into the best. And yeah, the more I've thought about that, the more I've realized that I was correct about that. And some other colleges that I looked at were University of Delaware, which I think was also in my I think it was maybe in my top 3, I'd say. But looking back at it, I think maybe I should have considered that, like I said earlier, just because University of Florida is a stretch school, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best choice. So
Yeah.
that's my advice. Don't always think that stretch schools are going to be the better college to go to, because stretch schools, they can be too prestigious, like Cornell, which I did consider for a short time but never actually applied to. Congrats to Lily for getting into Cornell though. But yeah, just don't always think that stretch schools are going to be the best option. And another piece of advice I have, like what Charlie said earlier, is to plan ahead. This didn't actually happen to me, but some of my friends ended up scrambling to finish their essays because they had put it off until the last minute, and their households were incredibly stressful as a result. I got my essay done before school even started last year, and while you may not have to start that early, you still just can't put it off till the last minute, because it's going to be a very stressful time if you do.
So talking about the essay process, Allison, how did you go about it? Did you do a sketch, an outline? Did you get friends and family to help? What did you do?
I actually have more advice to that. So I was kind of confused on my essay at first, and that caused me to just put it aside for a bit because I didn't know what to do. Don't be afraid to ask for help on your essay. I did eventually ask for help from my advisor, which was definitely a good choice. But just if you're confused on what to do for your essay, ask your advisor, ask for advice. Don't just put it off because you don't know what to do.
Right. And to be honest, right, you can reach out to a variety of different people for advice, right? I mean, I've had people in the program reach out to me with their college essays and things like that. So happy to give you feedback.
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea.
Happy to give you guys feedback, especially if it's related to the program, right? Like a lot of different things that come in. Charlie, for example, I always joke saying because Charlie, that year when Charlie was finishing up and writing her essay, we had an opportunity from the New York Times looking for people who had climate anxiety. And Charlie was the first person to say, oh yeah, I'll take that interview. And she did a fabulous job. So I always say Charlie's essay started with, as I said to the New York Times. Charlie, is that true? Or
so that did make it into every single application. I worked it in somehow. I mentioned it. I interviewed at like most every school I applied to. I mentioned that in every single interview. I put the link to that, I think, in a lot of do you have anything else you'd like to share? But also your my main Common App essay doesn't have to be about something serious or struggle, because my most main essay was about how my mom wouldn't let me have sugary cereal as a kid, and I got in everywhere I wanted to go.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Diana, do you have any thoughts on the essay, and how did you? Did you also get it done early?
Yeah. So for me personally, I have a big issue with writer's block. So when I started my college essay, it was definitely a struggle. I did start my college essay this summer of going into senior year, which is something I really, really do recommend, like everyone else did. But I think I think the actual struggle that comes with the essay writing is not really like actually writing the essay itself, but coming up with what you are going to write with. And ultimately, I was able to come up with my idea, which I wrote my essay about my experience doing research at Cold Spring Harbor that I did in senior year. But I didn't really focus on like the research itself. I focused more so on the relationships that I formed with my lab members, because actually my lab was full of scientists who came internationally. So we had many scientists from like my mentor was actually from Germany, another one was like from Spain, another person came from Mexico. So it was like a whole like global environment, and I was really able to do I was able to gain a lot of different perspectives that I haven't really thought about before. So I just wrote about how being in that epicenter of like knowledge and different perspectives really changed my worldview. So that's kind of what I wrote about.
That's fabulous. I mean, like, yeah. Go ahead, Allison.
Can I also add on to my advice? So, like I said earlier, I struggled with my essay and put it off. And I think a reason for that was because I wasn't really sure what to write it about. But I think I think a really good setup for your essay is writing about how you got into this position today. What helped you graduate. Okay, I'm not sure how to word this. What helped you, why you deserve to get into this college, why you're dedicated to it, what has helped you become that today. I think that's a very good thing to write your essay about, and that's actually what my essay was focused on, Rewild, and how that helped me get into the position that I am today. And yeah, I have a lot to thank for Rewild, because it's definitely contributed to my success with colleges.
Yeah, no, totally. I think writing your essay about your experience on the summer program is another. I mean, it doesn't have to be all of it. It could be all of it. It could be part of it. It could be specific things you saw. It could be specific factors about yourself that changed. It maybe you had like a, you were afraid of insects to start out with. At the end, you really saw yourself actually looking at a bee up close, and that, just that relationship to one small thing, how it changes the way you look at life. There's a lot of different ways to write it. I'm not saying, oh my God, you have to write about Rewild. You don't have to do anything, but it definitely, open you. I mean, and since you're in the middle of the program, this is a great time for you to start thinking about everything in connection with, oh, does this make sense to me as a career? Does it? Because you're also meeting people at the Unitarian Universalist congregation. You're meeting wonderful people like Marv and Be Helped. I mean, say, for example, like, ask them about their histories. For example, Be Helped. Did you know she was a PhD and one of the earliest women computer scientists in the United States? She did her research in algorithms. She's a mathematician. She taught in Queens College. She's had a variety of different careers. Then after retiring, she's a master gardener. She's a rewilder. She's an amazing person. I mean, like Lily and Allison went to her house to help her garden, because now she's like a little bit harder for her to maintain her big garden. But you are surrounded by a lot of people who have had different careers and have come to it. So use this opportunity, whether it's a professor who comes to help you at UUCSR, whether it is somebody like B, whether it's somebody like Mar, just asking them about how they came about it and what they did with their lives. That'll give you perspective. Maybe that'll give you an angle to write, right? So making your essay exciting is always about putting personality and drama and thought into it. And of course, you're going to be the main actor in it, but if you can get more characters into your story, that always helps, right? So Hannah, did you have struggled with your essay? You dash it off in like 3 minutes and it was all perfect.
No, I actually I'm the cautionary tale about leaving your essay to the last minute a bit.
Oh,
I wrote a bunch of essays and they were finished, like completely finished, edited essays, multiple. And like a week before my college application was due, I decided I hated them all. I wrote a new essay the week before from start to finish, edits and everything, because I decided the old ones were just like not good enough. They would have been fine. My new essay was written about how I accidentally set my engineering fire project on fire in ninth grade. So it really doesn't have to be that serious of a topic. I just wrote about like what that taught me and like how like failure can like be a learning experience. But like I did set my engineering project accidentally on fire in ninth grade. But really I would not do what I did. If you don't like your essay, restart more than like a week before they're due. I ended up finishing in time, but it was a very stressful time, which definitely is not an experience I would recommend to anybody else. I will just like little reminder, I'm sure you've heard this before, use the same essay for every college. Don't rewrite. Like you'll need maybe 2 or 3 essays. You don't need a new one for each new application. Also, as Reggie was saying, just talk to the adults in your life. There's going to be some boring conversations about their careers in there, but there also will be a few interesting pieces of advice or a few interesting stories to really sit with. And also take some time and just reflect on maybe the past few years before writing your essay. Think about what came to you instead of just trying to go in and write right away. Think first and like just sit with yourself and be like, like what helped me, what shaped me, and it'll be helpful and give you a little more clarity before you sit down.
Yeah, no, and always like look for a grabbing start to your essay. Like COVID was the best years of my life. I'm sorry that it ended because I had to go and meet people or something. I know at least 2 kids who do that, and one of them is mine, of course. But right, so of course. Lily, what did you do with your essay? Did you start early, end early, rewrite it?
Yeah, so sorry for the camera thing. My phone was on 1%. I just noticed it. I was like, and I just grabbed my charger. I started my essay very early. I started it during like the 3rd, 4th quarter of my junior year. It was not the essay that I would finish with, but it was one that I just was drafting ideas because at the end of my English course, like towards AP tests and after AP tests, the teacher was like, okay, time for everyone to write college essays. That's our new assignment. And so that's what we did. She gave out example essays from all the like popular colleges that people applied to, what they look for. And that helped a lot. My college essay ended up being about how Pokemon and Legends of Zelda and other like books and video games influenced my interests in ecology and evolutionary biology. So
I would love to read that. Wow. Yeah, I played all those games. Yeah. Was this like Pokemon Go or was this like Pokemon?
Pokemon. Like I was very, very, very into the games and everything about it. Still kind of.
Evolution. Yeah. Evolutionary theory and Pokemon. Yeah. I've always wondered. Yeah, no, that's awesome. But so you also did a ton of, did you do any formal research, Lily? Or I know you learned a lot on like if research means learning outside the classroom curriculum and learning things in depth. Lily is like one of my inspirations because she's like knows so much about bugs and birds that she just picked up books and read on her own. And I'm always like, wow, that's awesome. So Lily, did you do anything formal with it or in terms of like calling it research, or did you do it mostly on your own, and how did that come through in the process?
So in terms of like research, like scientific research, I have been like volunteering on projects. I haven't been like conducting my own research, but I if you make connections, networking is very important. If you know any organization that does anything with what you're interested in, like for example, I didn't expect Audubon to somehow end up connecting me with someone who is doing evolutionary biology in primate brains, which is what I ended up volunteering doing. You don't know where connections are going to come from. I had to stop doing that because I didn't have time later on. Stuff came up. I but I was on that project for about a year, and it was great. And I included it, and I don't think I included it in my college essay, but I included it in my activities. And then bird banding, which was an activity that is a research activity because the data is used for research and tracking, even if there's no experimentation or anything in the process. That I included, and I think both of my college essays, both my Cornell essay and my Common App essay. And I would have mentioned it in like the other essays, but similar to what I believe Diana said, chose one college, kind of obsessed over that, left everything in the background. Not a good idea, because what if I didn't get in? But yeah.
Yeah, so your research, did anybody else do research? Allison or Hannah or Charlie, did you all like either formally or informally participate in research of some kind?
I did AP research, an AP capstone at my school. So I had AP seminar, AP research, where you got to sort of AP seminar, you did sort of more group-based collaborative projects, and then AP research had the whole year to dedicate to doing a research project that you design entirely on anything you wanted. So shame to say mine wasn't environmental science themed. Mine was a like political media analysis project, but I would say that the research skills that it gave me would be transferable to research in any field. I learned how to use like databases, like those sort of research databases, find peer-reviewed articles, construct a project, interpret results, all of that.
Yeah, no, I think I'd say the most important thing about research that you learn is, I think the right way to describe it is the rest of everything that you do is somebody asks you a question and you go and find the answer for it. Research, it's like flipping it. It's like telling you, find the hardest question that nobody knows the answer to and that you can find the answer to. Right. So it's kind of like you can ask a very dumb question like, hey, what is the temperature today? But that's useless. I mean, that's too easy. On the other hand, you can say, oh, you know what? Is the universe expanding or contracting at what rate? And that's a question that's too hard. So you kind of got to find the right question that's interesting and the hardest question that you can answer. And so making the question, which is like what is research, is kind of the harder part of it, because now suddenly you're like, no, you're not in a room with a full-length paper and a time clock and somebody's question staring at you. It's your question and it's a blank sheet. You have to write the question and then write the answer, right? So that in that sense, it teaches you a lot of skills and forces you to kind of unclutter your brain and not think in those guardrail ways. Did anybody else do? Hannah, did you do research? Allison?
I did a research methodology class in 10th grade with Jason Williams from Cold Spring Harbor,
Okay.
Which taught me about research, and we did DNA barcoding with invasive plants. So that was an interesting course I took, as well as I took this is not really research, but a biocoding class with Jason Williams from Cold Spring Harbor as well, which I found really interesting and really taught me a lot about how research can be done, like a methodology of using code to understand information about biology and DNA.
Yeah, no, so do you think it'll be useful if we, I mean, because I can easily see 100 burning questions around, say, for example, rewilding or sustainable landscaping that just popped my mind, right? In fact, I've talked to many professors about this, and which is simple things like, hey, suppose I take my lawn, what is the biodiversity of my lawn if I go in and buy a bunch of like, I don't know, native plants and put them in? What is the increase in like bugs? Is that quantified? Is it actually useful if 100 different people plant small gardens, or does one person have to plant 100 times a big garden? Like, there are so many questions about sustainable landscaping, that I'd be happy. Like if anybody here wants a research project or thinks that there's a useful research project to be done around rewilding, come and talk to us. We are always open, because I think this is a brave new world. I don't think the answers are quite out there like how you think they may be. It's not like I can open a book and find out. And very many of these answers depend on, local climatic conditions, what you did, what you did not do. So there's no systemic understanding of this. So your experience may actually end up contributing to a lot of awareness around this. So let me pause there. I know we are at 11. We'll possibly last 5 minutes. Just bear with us. Any questions? Anybody have questions that did not get answered? Please ask away. Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask? Okay, all right. So please post it in chat. I'll also post, so while we are talking, I'd request all our speakers to put their names and emails in chat so people can get in touch with you. I hope people can get in touch with you if they're interested in either your major or your college or your essay or anything like that. If you're okay with that, please put your name in chat and your email. And if you're reaching out to one of our speakers, just say, hey, I'm in the summer program in 2022. I would love to ask you a question or talk to you or whatever it is. And you can definitely approach them. They are lovely and warm and approachable and knowledgeable, as you can see, and articulate. So definitely will be of help. And so one last question. One thing, if you think, like one thing to avoid, was a total utter waste of time, was total BS, but you somehow convinced yourself you had to do that. And if you had to go back, you would take that time back and sleep or something, right? So Hannah, you want to go? Anything that comes to mind?
So I did mention that I just kept adding colleges and adding colleges and adding colleges, and you do need a good amount for you, but I just kept going on and on and on and adding more and more. But also, while talking to people, people are going to give you a lot of ideas of what they think you should be doing with the college process, what colleges you should be applying to, what career you should be following. But really, people have good advice and you should listen, but at the end of the day, you just have to listen to yourself and what's right for you and be confident in your own decision making. So find a way to balance listening and not thinking that you have all the answers, but also knowing that at the end of the day, it's you and it's your life, and you have to be confident in what you want to do and not just let other people tell you what to do.
Very cool. Thank you, Hannah. Lily?
In my experience, I was glad I took the time doing most of the things I did, but there were definitely some things that I would not recommend. Although I didn't go full out with my school's science research program, the specific one at my school was very demanding, took a ton of time out of other people's lives that they could spend doing other academic pursuits, even other research, because it was just so demanding. And the people in the program, some of them didn't even want to do research by the end of it. A lot of them didn't really want to do a lot of research by the end of it. And just if there's a program that's a lot of time, and even if the outcomes are great, a lot of people from my school did become Regeneron finalists, and that's incredible, but a lot of people didn't, and they spent just as much, if not significantly more time than the people that became finalists. Nothing on them, they're amazing people. Everyone did great, but there's a lot of people that spent a ton of time in doing research and it didn't go anywhere. I was in that I was not formally in the program, but I tried to join it for a few months, and it was just so stressful. I got nowhere. It was at the start of COVID or right before COVID. Labs starting November, December, labs were already closing. Plus they didn't want a student my age who has no experience doing the type of research that I wanted to do. They didn't want me there really because I wanted to work with genetics and stuff at first. Still evolution, but the evolution of viruses. People did not want a 10th grader.
Wow. Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time looking at articles, reading articles, writing emails, reporting back to the person who was the director of the program. And I won't say it was for nothing, because I did learn a lot from those articles that have influenced my interests, but I don't think I would have gone too many places if I stuck with the program. I think I was a lot more productive in my own time, finding connections on my own, not through like this specific program. So if you find a program that you think is good for you, then go for it. Like some people, that's a lot. I was going to say some people love the program. No one, this specific program, I don't think everyone in it was not very happy about it, but some people did get a lot from it, even if they didn't really enjoy it. If you think you could get something from a program, definitely do it. If you don't think you could get something from it and it's going to waste a ton of your time, or just like use up a ton of your time that could be spent doing something else, don't do it. If I was doing that, I wouldn't have been able to do Rewild because I would have to do full-time research over that summer and the summer after that. So I am very happy I was not part of that program. That's my advice.
Yeah, no, pick your battles, not, I mean, just because something sounds like that might look good on your resume does not mean that it could end up being disproportionately time consuming, and you could have used that time to do things that you actually liked to do, right? So yeah,
Exactly.
no, that's a great advice. Diana, what was the biggest waste of your time? If there was
I
anything.
think something similar. In my school, there's a big like pressure to do certain activities. I mean, like for example, my school, like everybody does like the honors program because it's just like everyone does that. And like there's certain activities that people are like, oh, you should do this because it'll look great on your resume and stuff. And honestly, I definitely was subject to that sort of pressure to do these activities, and ultimately none of those activities even made it on my college application. And I think I didn't really gain anything significant from them. So that was probably a big time waster. Just honestly, do what you are passionate about doing, and don't do activities just for the sake of like everyone else is doing this activity, so I'm gonna have to do this activity too.
Yeah, no, totally. Charlie?
So I don't know if I really did anything that I would consider a waste of time, because it's really hard to get me to do things if I don't.
Okay.
So I think I'm the opposite. I think there were some things that I thought were a waste of time, so I didn't do them, and I retrospectively kind of wish I did them.
Like what, Charlie?
I think like if there were like some classes I didn't take because I was like, that's pointless, I don't want to do that, that like I probably could have taken, and things like that. So I think I wish I like went a little bit out more. So I would say don't overschedule yourself, but also don't be afraid to like just do something, even if you think it might be a little stupid.
Okay, cool. No, thank you for the counterweight on that. So everybody don't stop doing everything. Allison, what about you? Was there something that you thought wasted your time, or things that you wished you had done that you had not, that would have helped?
I can't really think about something that quite wasted my time, but I think I did mention earlier how it's not really a good thing to get your hopes up for a stretch school. So like I said, University of Florida was my stretch school, and when I first visited Cornell over 2 years ago, I thought, oh, this school looks great. I bet I'm probably going to apply. And after being told that it has I think a 6% acceptance rate at the point I was, I just said, oh, okay, forget about it then. So don't apply to a lot of stretch schools, I'd say. If I wasn't told that Cornell has such a slim acceptance rate, I probably would have applied and would have wasted a lot of time trying to get into it before realizing that it's already a huge stretch school to begin with.
Being aware of what you want and what you, but
Yeah,
the great thing is you got OSU, which is really like, everybody thinks a fantastic program.
So yeah, just don't always go for the stretch schools. Go for the school that how do I word this? Go for the school that at this rate seems the best for you.
That speaks most clearly to your heart and interests, like OSU does for
yes,
Allison.
OSU was definitely the best fit for me. And yeah, at the rate I was, it was definitely the best. It was the best choice.
Okay, cool. Thanks everybody. Thanks for staying on. As always, I thank our speakers for sharing and being very honest and very open and approachable. They all put their email addresses and names and contact information on the chat. Grab that if you want. I did put out the sign up sheet, so please do put your name on the sign up sheet if you want to get the credit for these 2 hours. And really thank you all for being here. I hope this was very useful. If you have any ideas for either research or you want to bounce some essay ideas off Kathy or me or B or anybody else, please do. We're all here to help you. It's a very stressful time in your life. It should not have to be, but unfortunately it is. So good luck navigating it. And if you can use any help from any of us here, please remember, we are all here to help one another.